Hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to our weekly support class for the Genius Insight. I am Dr. Ariel Policano. I'm a naturopathic doctor. I'm a clinically trained naturopath that I've been in practice for over a decade, and one of my greatest tools is biofeedback. Biofeedback allows us to peer beneath the surface to things that we would not have known before, and anyone can learn to be a biofeedback practitioner for themselves, for their family, or even as a career. The Genius Insight is a relatively reasonably priced way of getting into the game, whereas there was software, biofeedback software previously that did the same thing that would cost upwards of $30,000 or more. You can now do the same thing in a mobile application. It is astonishing to me why everyone is not turning to the Genius biofeedback, but I think more and more people will. If you have someone who's interested in the Genius, the best thing to do is to make a personal introduction by email. So down in the chat, I'm going to put some information that my actual website is awakentotalhealth.com, awakentotalhealth.com. So if you go to my website, awakentotalhealth.com, that is a website for energy medicine technology. So if you're interested in EMF protection, or if you're interested in biofeedback, you're interested in learning about energy medicine, that's a good website to go to. If you have a person who you think is interested, I don't recommend that you just leave them out on their own to go discover everything. What I recommend is that you create an email and you introduce me, little old me, to that person. And I do connect with them personally within the usually 24 hours of the introduction. Sometimes you'll see me respond within an hour of getting that email. So that's an important email that connects me to that person. So this is my email. The reason for that is because even though we have an affiliate program that you can be a part of, it usually takes several engagements and personal connection for people to learn about the program. So it doesn't matter to us whether it takes a day or a year for someone to cultivate that relationship, but we at least want to establish that relationship. So the best thing to do is to send that person to me personally with your email and their email, and either making the introduction or asking me to get in touch with them. We don't employ any sales pressure. We actually just want to get the introductory videos and the trial to them and just have established a hello, how are you? I'm here to help you. What happens otherwise is people are out there sort of floating in the abyss. They do download the trial, but they don't know what to do with it, and they don't really understand the resources that are available to them. They can also land on the developer site, which is not a problem at all. They just won't get the customer service from me and the personal attention from me if they go sort of out wandering on their own, out on the Quantum Health Apps website. Again, they can do it. It's just that we're all able to come together as a team better to make that a home run for that person, giving them all the information that they need if they start at Ariel at awakentotalhealth.com. When I receive your email, I send them a very special, warm introduction, personal introduction, along with 4 introductory videos and an invitation, and you can always say a personal invitation to download the trial. Over the course of almost 6 years now, I found that that is a much more successful way to help people and for them to feel a level of satisfaction and feeling cared about. So we follow up with them, and we take it from there once we get your introduction, and then we pay you the commission, the affiliate commission, 30 days from the successful sale. Okay, and Karen asks about the newsletter. Karen, I'll personally forward the newsletter to you when it comes out today or tomorrow. I will absolutely make sure that you get the newsletter. Okay, and so good. I've got some people who are volunteering here. Here we take questions about the Genius, and we also do we also do volunteer sessions. So this is another great place to bring your prospects. If you have someone who's interested, give them the link to this webinar. Give them the link to this webinar and warmly invite them to the webinar. We would love to have people who are interested, and they can come here and they can ask for their session. That is never a problem at all. I want to give a warm welcome to Helen checking in from Canada. She's an amazing cancer survivor, and I thank her so much for using the Genius. John is here. John L is here. John, welcome to you. Sarita checking in from LA. Hope all is well in LA. Let's do a check-in sometime, just hear how you're doing. Tracy's checking in from Canada. And a new user, Tracy with an I, is joining us from Long Island today. I want to warmly welcome Tracy and encourage you to come as many times as you want to this class. I love that you're able to join us live. And when you can't join us live, because I know you're heading back to work, then just catch the recording on YouTube or in my newsletter. Got both of the Sherrys here today, and coincidentally, both of the Sherrys have sent me a request for a case today. So we'll get to that. Rita, a warm welcome to you. So nice to have you join us from Pennsylvania. And you guys, by the way, your location is not actually indicated in the webinar. I just know all of you personally, so I know I know where you live. I know where you are. So it's really nice. And Debbie Irwin, Debbie and Bill actually, who is Debbie, who's a longtime SKIO practitioner, and her husband, Bill, who's a biological dentist. Both of them have joined us today, and I really thank you so much for being here. What a treat, and really welcome to our family. Welcome to our biofeedback community. It's good to have you. So we did receive a case from Sherry, our Sherry from Canada, and she sent us a case of, let's see, we've got, it sounds like phlebitis, which is inflammation of the veins. We've got leg vein issue, swelling, and pain. And let's see what we've got here. I believe she's in her late 70s, early 80s. So really do see people with more longevity. It's wonderful. People living into their 80s. 70, 70 starts to seem young. When you see people be so vibrant at these ages, even into their 80s, and it's really exciting to see people living so well. So we've got really like yeah, late 70s, early 80s is spot on. We try not to say all the exact information. That's a practice from medicine where you don't want to actually give away the identity of the person. So you sort of mask it in this late 80s, early 70s when you're doing a case review. You always want to retain anonymity in medicine, and it's a good practice to bring into your biofeedback to be cautious when discussing a case, to not identify the person. We want to keep their privacy, to maintain the respect of their privacy if they so wish it. If somebody comes on here and volunteers, obviously they're willing to disclose some of their personal details, but we often do hide their personal date of birth unless they explicitly have to say it on the webinar for some reason. Okay, so vein issues, you guys. So we want to think about stagnation of the blood. Now this is this gal's, I think we can just say her, I must have her first name here. So I think we can say this gal's first name, and I can find this gal here. Okay, so Margaret is her first name, so we can just say Margaret in her late 70s, early 80s. In a beautiful ORAS to start off with, and this tells me that maybe Sherry has been working on her, because this looks like someone who's had some energy sent her way. So we don't see any of the particular blockages right now, but that doesn't mean that we can't check in. Looks like there's something happening over here. This I deem as more positive. So this looks very good. I guess we could find out from Sherry if she's recently worked on her. So, so Sherry says that she's worked on her lots. So yeah, so it's going to be a little bit different, but we'll still see the core issues come up. And if you want to volunteer today, if you want to be a subject, a volunteer scan today, then please send me the information. And Terry says she's checking in from Ajijik. Mexico. I don't know if I did that. I probably mangled that. But Terry, would love to hear from you if you want to volunteer or how you're doing. Okay, so Sherry, that's actually what I was going to ask you. She says she's worked on her every day for months, but her leg issues continue every day. So there is some type of a block. I don't know if we're going to necessarily, get past the wonderful work that you've done. I mean, we may not be able to see what that block is, but let's just look at the case anyway. It's always good to give it a new look, right? Just to look at it. Okay, so right away, when you start off a case, you want to get some basic information. So for basic information, especially physical information, it's good to look at things like body systems, today's stress. You can look at organs. Today's stress is a good global look at some of the things that a lot of people understand at a basic level. So right off the bat, infection. You guys, the struggle for life is the struggle for being able to either be in harmony with infection or to overcome it. Our entire lives will be, this sounds so sad, but our entire lives is a dance with infective agents. It is a dance. It is whether the infective agent will ultimately overtake us and cause perhaps autoimmunity or chronic fatigue or some deeper issue, or whether we can stay ahead of it through avoiding stagnation, through not clogging up the circulation with meat, dairy, oil, that type of thing, and whether we stay free of stagnation emotionally. All of these things allow us to constantly um, rise above the challenge of infection. So bacteria, viruses, parasites, and so forth, they're sort of always around us. We're always at risk of a tooth infection and so forth. So when we're in strong vital force, we keep those infections at bay. We even have some degree of Helicobacter pylori, H. pylori, which causes ulcers. It has been said that we all have some degree of H. pylori, but as we age, we lose some ground to be able to keep it in check. So of course, any disruption to the gut microbiome, making sure that we are building up the reserves of the gut microbiome. This is a wonderful way to keep us from getting the infection. Whatever we can do in our lives to keep our body moving, whether it be Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga, walking on the beach, getting grounded, all of those things keep us, it's one of the main benefits to those things is allowing us to rise above infection, to keep the infection in check. We're also working on the idea of terrain. We don't want the terrain to change, the soil of our body. We want to keep that as healthy as possible so it's not a place where infection can grow. So it's something we just have to deal with throughout our lives and recognize. So there's some sort of infection going on. Now, these items in blue, what I'm often looking for is I'm often diving down to the bottom here to look for items that are under 200. Now you may say, items under 200, well, those are in green. But what I have found over time is that items that are in green that are under 200 are significant. In other words, when I say they're significant, they indicate that there's reactivity. And reactivity is the most important thing in biofeedback because you're not really dealing with the pathology per se. That's what doctors do. I'm always looking for it because I feel more information is power. But as a doctor, they will give a medicine. As a biofeedback practitioner, you're always reducing reactivity or increasing harmony, depending on how you want to look at it. So you're not perhaps cutting someone open and removing a pancreas or removing a tumor, but you are playing these frequencies in order to create in order to create more harmony, in order to reduce reactivity. So if you think of yourself at your perfect state of health, at resonating at a certain frequency, like tuning in a radio station. And then someday you try to tune in that crystal clear radio station and all you hear is static. Well, if you turn the radio dial, as you know, a little bit to the right or a little bit to the left, you kind of re-ring in that beautiful, crisp sound. That is what reducing reactivity is. So you're reducing reactivity in order to help that person to regain their vital force, to be able to tune in more clearly. You're working at sort of bringing them back to that perfect frequency. So therefore, we can both include the blood sugar here, right, that is under 200, and we also become aware that blood sugar and liver are involved. So at a very simple level, even though this is about veins, you guys, you can always assume that everything that you have going on that is causing you a quandary and that appears immovable can be traced back to an issue with the gut. So you cannot avoid doing something to address that. And for those of you who took the Practitioner 1 and Practitioner 2 classes, especially in Practitioner 2, these classes are available for download. And in Practitioner 2, we talked about the basic treatment guidelines, those basic guidelines that you give to people, specifically the digestive wellness practices. And that's a really good handout you guys got in that second class, because you want to start to urge people to adopt those digestive wellness practices. Even though this gal has had biofeedback every day for months, for a long time, there still remains leg vein inflammation. So let's look at this. So she's got terrible leg issues, swelling and pain. So there's either one of two things. Maybe we're at an age where it's not changeable. Maybe we're too advanced, or there's something that hasn't been addressed yet. So those are the things that we want to think about. Leg vein issues called phlebitis, swelling of the veins, of course, swelling and pain. So pain, now this is a really important point, you guys. It's going to seem so obvious, but when I read it in our hydrotherapy texts when I was a naturopathic student, it was one of the biggest revelations, I think, ever in all of naturopathic medicine, is that pain is the body's request for oxygen. Pain is the body's request for oxygen. Now, if you think about when somebody has a heart attack, what is the symptom that they report? They say it feels like an elephant is standing on my chest. It is in the most intense pain. So in that sense, it is the biggest request for oxygen the body could make. So this pain down in the legs, it's the body's request for oxygen. It appears that there is stagnation of some kind. What would be impeding the flow of oxygen? Most likely, as we age, it's going to be the narrowing of the veins. However, it's very likely that, you know, I don't know what the diet is here, but if the diet is not completely 100% plant-based, low-fat diet at this point, it's very likely that there's still there's an impairment in the digestive system that is contributing to this lack of flow or circulation in the body. So the diet in some way could easily be contributing to this issue with the circulation. We know that basically, like, I know Karen from Canada just joined us, and she's been a colon therapist for a long time. There probably is not one condition that she's ever treated, from rheumatoid arthritis to cancer to phlebitis, that she's probably not seen get better with a colonic. And this is a biofeedback class, but it's just to say that everything can be traced back to the digestive system, whether it be the colon, that's part of the digestive system. So the digestive system should not be thought of as your stomach, right? That can be a fallacy from sort of a layperson perspective if you've never had a medical class or a physiology class. But the digestive system goes from your mouth all the way down to the other end, all the way down to the rectum actually. So another thing that was really interesting that I learned as a naturopathic student is that the body is really just one big tube from end to end, if you think about it, with these different types of linings of the coats and these different types of purposes of, from the mouth to the esophagus down to the stomach, small intestine, and large intestine. So that's the digestive connection. Then we've got a hormonal issue. A nutritional issue is either the nutrition itself or the inability to digest the nutrition. So, we also talked about in practitioner level 2 about the sequence of sessions. So we have a digestive session, then we have a session in food sensitivity reduction, then we have a session in another area, whether it be heavy metals or emotions. We have this like sequence of sessions that you actually offer as a package to the person. And, one of them or several of them could be spent just on the digestive system because it has so much impact. Okay, cardiovascular as well. Now, cardiovascular is pretty obvious, right? So now let's go ahead and let's go to the heart panels. These are some of the special panels that many of you have because you got the Platinum program. So the Platinum program gives you the most. If you haven't gotten your system yet, we still have it available in the May 2015 special. You can go and look at that on the website. And so when we look at this, we're actually just want to use the alphabetical search here, and we want to go to the heart panels, and then we'll go to the vessel solutions panels. So let's go to heart anatomy. Whew, that just blows me away. A valve issue due to jaw misalignment. This could probably be an entire lecture or an entire class. So I'll try not to spend too much time on it, but there is some understanding that the workings of the heart may be everything in the body is connected to structure, you guys. Structure affects function. So a change in your posture, a change in your jaw alignment, it actually affects the whole workings of the body. Amazing, right? We're totally connected. So if there's been a loss of teeth, or let me give you you can run this frequency for the person, but it gives you some, let me just give you one little tool that you can use. It's not really meant for this purpose, but it sort of can be. There's a tool online, it's usually just for dentists, and it's called an aqualizer. And what it is it's a saline-filled splint. And if you think you have jaw issues, you can at least know if they would get better in the short term by using this. It's a lot better than a mouth guard because of the salination, the soft pad, the salinated pad. It at least allows you to get support without that discomfort and sort of molds itself to your own jaw. So look for that online. I think you can get it with shipping for like 27 bucks. They sell it in the dental office for like 40 bucks, but they do sell them online now. And this can at least temporarily help with jaw misalignment. Unfortunately, when we lose teeth or when we grind, for whatever reason, our teeth often get out of alignment. This can at least help temporarily. Of course, seeing a chiropractor, soft tissue work, it does appear that there is something related to that. I think I already did that. Okay, pulmonary artery, that's one of the primary, the left atrium, the aortic valve. So there does seem to be a valve here. Guys, anything related to the heart, again, and could be an entire topic of conversation. Is, first of all, what is the diet? Is there still meat, dairy, or oil in the diet? You want to remove those. Mitral valve issue could be from lack of exercise over the years. It could be from excess stimulants. It could be from a broken heart. There are lots of things that can affect the valves. The valve is a big issue. It's one of the most, a leaking valve or an improperly functioning valve, or things like atrial fibrillation are one of the most common reasons that drugs are prescribed, like blood thinning drugs, which, any drug is probably going to lead to a new problem, you guys. That's the downside. I think that drugs can at best be used in such a way that it reduces risk in the present moment, and then it's only a transitory drug. For example, someone who is in intense back pain and they're having terrible spasms and they can't sleep. I have no problem with that person taking a muscle relaxant just to break the pain cycle, not an opiate, not an opioid necessarily, but just a simple muscle relaxant in order to break the pain cycle, and then use magnesium and turmeric and all the other things that we can use in order to make that back, reduce that inflammation, chiropractic, of course. So I think that we've gotten so far past the best use of medicines where the specific intention of a medicine, especially for people who are maybe over 50 or 60, is to get them on a medication that they will take for life. And you guys, that is absolutely the intention of the pharmaceutical industry. Don't kid yourself. As the tobacco industry once said about using marketing to get young people hooked on cigarettes, they said, if they got lips, we want them, right? That was like in their literature. Don't fool yourself about the pharmaceutical. They want people to get on blood pressure medication that will be used for life. They want people to get on cholesterol medication that will be used for life. There's really no exit road off of these medications, you guys. There's no steps that doctors really ever take to implement the right lifestyle to get them off these medications. The pericardium is the covering of the heart, the right atrium, and that's about it. So there's definitely some heart stuff. For valves, we can use an Ayurvedic herb called Arjuna, Arjuna, for the actual valves. But here's the best one to use globally for the heart, you guys. And this is hawthornberry or crataegus, one of the best studied in natural medicine. So if you have someone with a broken heart, with a heart that is not beating as strongly as it should, if you have a valve disorder, taking the hawthorn berry as a solid extract, as you can get from a company called Wise Woman Herbals, so hawthorn berry solid extract, or you can take it as a tea. It's not a bad thing, you guys, to take as a tea every day because it has wonderful antioxidants and preventative. We have some measure of people on here today. Of all the people on here, think of the potential based on percentages of people who are developing heart disease. So I'm sure all of you are fit, healthy, you're all on plant-based diet and so forth. You all do your biofeedback on a regular basis, but still doing some measure of prevention can be very, very powerful and very meaningful for people. Okay, so just looking at these other ones, I'm just looking at the ones I want to look at the moment. So let's go through some of the other ones. Let's go through these, the heart solutions for a moment. I think we wanted to go through conditions. There's a better assessment than anatomy. So some of the solutions that come up for her are magnesium, coenzyme Q10, methylfolate, icosapentaenoic acid. There's that hawthorn berry. Red yeast rice to lower cholesterol. I don't know what do you know what her cholesterol is by any chance? Sherry, cactus. Cactus is another one just like Arjuna that's very good for the proper rhythm of the heart and probably would help with a valve issue. So I have to go back and check that. But cactus is really very similar to hawthorn berry. It's not very well taught, we don't really talk about it a lot, but in the traditional naturopathic era, like back in the 1920s and 30s, cactus was a really popular remedy. And look at that, it's a 0. So 0 indicates a very strong affinity and attraction to that particular remedy. Taurine, which is very, very good amino acid for the heart. Alpha lipoic acid, boy, I mean, again, another thing we could do an entire class on, you guys. Probably if you looked at, that I believe biofeedback is the ultimate, you guys. So to that end, I've been thinking a lot about just singular or a few select remedies that you put into your water bottle for the day, or even into a tincture bottle. So whether it's tincture bottle is sort of more precise, I think, than the actual water bottle, but whatever works, you guys, because you only have so long, if you use this for personal use, to run your session, right? And then if you're doing a client, how do you extend or give them the session to take with them? So where I'm going with this is I don't think it would be a bad idea if you tried this as an experiment. So take your alpha lipoic acid frequency and just put it up here as a singular frequency, and then take that in drops during the day. I also don't just as one frequency, so try singular frequencies created with water. I also don't think it's a terrible idea to, if you're minimizing your supplements, right? I think doing a few of them is good, or a lot of them, depending on what you want and what your goal is, or how much healing you need to do. Alpha lipoic acid being one of the most powerful that you can take, you guys. One of the best for blood sugar, which is more difficult to control as we age, and just an overall really powerful antioxidant for just protecting the body. So look into that alpha lipoic acid. Vitamin E, which we want to really get that from plants. We don't want to take especially a synthetic vitamin E, although we could take mixed tocopherols. Berberine, which is really a great liver cleanser and really good for cholesterol, which is what you want to do. When you want to make cholesterol improve, you want to use something that will make the liver improve, because the liver processes fats. In heart health assessment, let's go ahead and see. This is the one that I was really looking for to see what's going on here. Okay, CoQ10 deficiency, I would definitely consider that as part of the solution for this if she doesn't take CoQ10. Toxicity exposure being part of the issue. A methylation defect, and we did see the need for methylfolate. Glycosylation, so this comes from the diet. So if there is too much pasta, we're looking for refined carbohydrate, you guys, when we consider glycosylation. This means that at times, the blood sugar has been too high for too long and has affected the actual quality of the blood. And it causes the blood to be more sticky, and these misshapen blood cells cause this process of glycosylation. Glycosylation in the blood can lead to age spots or gray hair. The signs of aging in the body is caused by glycosylation, which most people want to avoid. So glycosylation, what you're really looking for is to eat a more unprocessed plant-based diet, because even processed plant-based can cause glycosylation. And Penelope sent me a great email request. She said, well, what are refined carbs? What are refined foods? And this refinement question is really important, you guys, because most people would think, if I sent you to eat brown rice versus brown rice pasta, at times in my career, I've been very, very happy to, if somebody will eat brown rice pasta. I mean, that's so much better than regular pasta or wheat-based pasta. However, if somebody's really looking to control or tighten up their blood sugar level, whenever you take something and sort of take the water out of it, so whenever you create something and break it down from a regular grain into a flour, you're going to increase the glycemic effect and the chance that it's going to cause glycosylation. So for people who want to be very strict in this area, it's better if they go with totally unprocessed foods. So preferring the brown rice to brown rice flour. And it's really a commitment, you guys, because that means no muffins, no bagels, no baked goods. So that would really be a commitment. However, I've done it myself. It's totally possible, but you have to sort of get into it. You have to really be committed to it. We've seen more of a commitment from people who are desperate to lose weight through, I've mentioned this in the classes before, Chef AJ. And if you go to eatunprocessed.com, and many of you have told me that you really enjoyed learning about what she had to say. And even if you just watch her videos on YouTube, eatunprocessed.com, she has a book. we have to have it explained to us what in the heck processed versus unprocessed is. So processed is, trying to think of other examples. Bread, okay? So even if you get a whole grain, a gluten-free, whatever it might be, that's going to be processed. Millet bread is processed. Millet is unprocessed. So potato flour, some people are cooking with that more, right? Or using it, but the potato is unprocessed, the potato flour is processed. So that the flour is going to inevitably affect this glycosylation more than unprocessed foods. So C-reactive protein high, that tells us that there's inflammation in those vessels. Hypertension due to kidney stress, so more hydration. We need to do some type of a kidney cleanse with Andreas's Moritz kidney tea is a good one. Vitamin E deficiency, let's stop there. Let's look at the vessel. Let's see if there's anything else over here that we can look at. Let's look at this Heart MP. This is for people who have the Premier Research Panel, should have this Heart MP. Just see if there's any interesting remedies here. Yeah, I see the need for the vitamin E. There's the max B and D. That's good for B vitamins. Let's go ahead and not really finding the exact thing that I want right now. Let's go to some of the frequency affirmations and see what we see here. Okay, so even at 80, fully aligning with the heart, my heart is in perfect health. Oxidative damage is now repairing. My kidneys support the proper fluid balance in my body. So there's something, you see that echo there, you guys, of how things come up several times. Now I'm paying more attention to it. Even though they haven't reported a kidney issue, inevitably, by the time a regular, unless this woman has been plant-based her whole life, inevitably there's going to be more kidney stress when one is 80 than if one was vegan for their entire life. That is because even if you eat a high plant-based protein diet, this plant-based diet, for example, if you're a crazy tofu eater, which most people are not these days, and you just eat tofu all day long. Now, there are other implications, but eating a high level of plant protein, it's shown in the studies, will not have the same impact in on the kidneys as having to break down eggs, chicken, beef every day, all day for 80 years or 75 years if you start eating at age 5. So the meat has much more impact on the kidneys in terms of deteriorating the kidneys faster. And so that's why, unfortunately, we have a lot more chronic kidney failure in this country. It really isn't talked about that much, but if you're in the medical field, you know about it. So you must support the kidneys in in any way that you can. And a kidney cleanse, what a kidney cleanse does is it helps to break down the uric acid and some of the kidney metabolites. It helps to give a chance to flush the kidneys out, to help them to work better, to perform their physiological function better. I now bring all physical functions in alignment with my heart. So these affirmations are very important, and we use progressive insights to find the ones that are most important. The musculature of my heart is contracting healthfully. Now, this goes back to the issue with the valves. If the valves do not contract properly, I think it's time to do probably another heart class. I haven't done one since we were using the Infinity, although it is downloadable and you can get it. But you guys, again, I think being a good biofeedback practitioner is really understanding good physiology. And because it brings your cognitive awareness up about understanding what's going on with the person. And I think that that's really, my gift to the biofeedback community that we really need to probably get back in the swing of is really bringing you guys that physiological naturopathic understanding. And even as a naturopath, I learned more physiology than medical doctors do. I spent more time on physiology as a naturopath because my curriculum had the time ability. The time ability in a regular medical curriculum is eaten up by the time they spend on pharmacology. So pharmacology is the study of drugs, and they have to spend so much time understanding how drugs interact and what drugs are available. They have less time to talk about physiology, which is exactly what you need to know if you're prescribing drugs. So the musculature of my heart is contracting healthfully. This echoes back to the issue about the valves. So the heart is so interesting. This is what I want to teach you guys in an upcoming class, is that the way at least we understand the heart, although there's an underlying, the vortex, the vortices, and also the chestahedron and things we could talk about, but let's just take the plain old mundane physiology of the heart, is that a heart is a series of 4 chambers. 2 of the top chambers, the atria, the left and right atria, fill during the time when the heart is contracting. In order to maintain this proper contraction, the valves have to close properly and completely, and they build a certain amount of pressure. And when the pressure is overwhelmed and the other valves open, they allow the fluids to move in a certain way. We call this like the sploosh, the sploosh of the fluid into the vessels, which is the blood flowing into the vessels. When this contraction of the heart is the most efficient, you will feel great. That's why exercise and aerobic exercise is necessary to condition the whole heart. But when the valves are leaky and they open and they don't hold, they're not patent or hold that fluid, you don't get as much blood flowing in each contraction, in each sort of each heartbeat, let's say. And as a result, you're not sending the blood, the oxygen, the nutrition as well as you could around the heart. So the musculature of my heart is contracting healthfully is one that she needs, and it suggests that this whole valve issue may somehow be related to the venous issue because of the lack of flow. So when you're considering anything with vessels, right? When you're considering anything with vessels, you always want to improve the flavonoids in your diet. So for her, lots of berries like the hawthorn berry, but also blueberry. And this would be good for her in a green smoothie. So take some, you don't have to create a green smoothie out of just kale. You guys, parsley, like curly parsley or Italian parsley, of course, a little bit of cilantro, but you really can't use that as a base. Kale, of course, is wonderful. And any of the other greens or herbs are good as a base. Spinach, of course. And what you want to do is you always take your green and mix it with water first at the base. Then you put your berries in, whether they're frozen or fresh. Now, for her, and for you guys to know, it turns out that in research that was done with different berries, that while one berry is powerful, when you put several different berries together, the antioxidant result is exponential. So if you put in your smoothie some frozen or fresh cherries and some blueberries and some blackberries, along with your mixed up parsley or your mixed up kale, the effect will be exponential. So for her, this would massively improve her bioflavonoid profile, or flavonoid profile as it's now really called. And also good flavonoids would be things like green tea. So green tea would also be good for building up flavonoids. You can also just get a supplement called vitamin C with flavonoids, and you often see the flavonoid profile in there. Things like hesperidin, quercetin, these are bioflavonoids, and these create the stability of the veins. You can also use things like the chestnuts. So in medicine, we have Aesculus hippocastanetum. That's often used for hemorrhoids, but it's used for hemorrhoids because it helps to improve it decreases the vascular fragility. You can impress people at cocktail parties by knowing Aesculus hippocastanetum. So that is basically chestnut. That helps to build up the vessel. So that would be good for her. Anything that it decreases inflammation, helps with decreasing stagnation. Decreasing stagnation would be really, really good. Often hot and cold treatments can really help to reduce the stagnation. I'm trying to think of the one that would be appropriate at the venous level, at the level of the veins, whether it's hot and cold foot soaks, which would be probably more warm and cold foot soaks. But hydrotherapy is a lost art. Unfortunately, in the States, you can find little pockets of places where people are practicing it, but it's one of the most gentle, like biofeedback, that we have. I think I'm not looking in the right place. Am I? Where's my vessel solutions? Okay, there we go. So let's look at those vessel solutions. So let's look at the vessel assessment of the major arteries. This is another add-on panel that many of you have used very successfully. The vertebral artery. The vertebral artery, I think, is around here. The celiac artery is more, I believe, around the neck, although we'd have to look at it. The internal iliac is definitely related, most likely, to the veins, although this is an artery, right? So it's about bringing, really the venous system is about bringing the blood back. And that's really what happens with the fragility, is that, hang on. There's almost no remaining musculature in the venous system. So your blood basically flows from the arteries, the pressure of the arteries. But by the time it gets to the feet, it's really hard, you guys, to get that blood back. Like for the stability of the vein itself, the structure of the vein has to be really, really healthy. And you need that movement throughout the body, because it is the heart itself that ultimately is going to drive that venous return movement of the body. It's really hard because there's just almost no musculature in the veins themselves, which is why when the power of the heart goes, or the power of the kidneys to regulate fluid goes, it's really hard to get all of that venous power to move that blood back to the heart. And that's why things like yoga encourage people to go into a reverse posture over their lifetime to help that remove that stagnation. All right, right coronary artery, left common iliac artery, popliteal artery, the scapular artery. And let's look at the solutions, the vessel health solutions, and then we'll be done here. We've got a need for selenium. We've got a need for garlic, a need for CoQ10. That's been the most consistent, you guys, coming through here. And we've got repair the endothelium, avoid coconut oil, magnesium chloride. Let's go to Progressive Insights, and then let's take some of your comments and questions. All right. So let's see. All right. All right, and Terry says she'd like to volunteer. Since we're going to run short for time today, Terry, please come back next week and send me an email, and I'll keep you at the front of the line. I've had a lot of success using 4 to 6 colonics hydrotherapy, takes down inflammation, especially of the legs. Excellent, excellent. Okay, so Jessica wants to volunteer for next week, Karen. We will do it. The person is not fully plant-based, can't barely eat anything without terrible gut pain. Okay, that's really important, you guys. Let me repeat that. That's from Sherry telling us about her client. She says she's not fully plant-based. She can barely eat anything without terrible gut pain. You guys, I know that 80 may seem, we're advanced. I would try the green smoothies. I would try wheatgrass. If there's something going on with that gut, you've got to address it. If there's terrible gut pain, there's probably a gut infection. That's probably what's going on there. Also could be liver-based. I can't emphasize, it sounds so cliche, you guys. I mean, it's like, so trendy, and everybody talks about it, but liver cleansing, it just never gets old. Liver cleansing, liver cleansing, liver cleansing, just adopt it as something you do, just like cleaning your teeth either every 6 months or every 3 months, or always be doing a little bit of liver cleansing. Does colonics several times a year. It's good that this gal does colonics. She may need to do more. Can you release liver and gallbladder stones with biofeedback, or is the cup of oil ACV method the best? Liver and gallbladder stones. You can use a remedy called Shanka Piedra, which is stone breaker. So Shanka Piedra. In fact, we probably should take Shanka Piedra on and off throughout our lives, because it helps to break up the calcifications in the body. It's an Amazonian herb that is very, very good for breaking up kidney stones, gallbladder stones. You'd be surprised at how much progress you can make at shrinking those stones with the Chancropiedra. There must be an energetic property within the Chancropiedra. So that's a good one. You just take a few drops, 10 drops twice a day. She takes no drugs. Cholesterol is actually low. That's interesting. I'm seeing a lot of heart issues with the flu virus this year, says Kelly. Seems the virus takes down the thoracic too and the heart meridian is affected. Let's talk about that some other time. That's very, very specific information, but very good. I appreciate it tremendously. She's had no hair for over 45 years. So that's a long time to have no hair. That is a very significant part of the course. Part of the case. So that could be an autoimmune reaction, Sherry. That could be something happening with the gut. I'm thinking autoimmune. And it could be a circulation issue. It's like, has she had no hair or very, very thin hair? Did it fall out at menopause? 45. That would be 55? No, be less than that. That would be 35, right? That'd be 30. All of her hair fell out at 35. That's really young. She eats very little as anything causes a painful reaction. No sugar at all. That's an infection. Not plant-based, eats meat. Okay. Lives in terrible fear of starving, so it's hard to eat. Yeah, this can be a depression era thing. I just noticed the webinar wasn't canceled due to Memorial Day. Awesome. Thank you, Susan. What helps the endothelium in the blood vessels and the tunica? Yeah, it's the flavonoids are some of the most powerful for that. So, so berries are very good to heal, to strengthen the endothelium, but also greens. That's why the green smoothie is so powerful. What greens like kale do, the parsley, Swiss chard and let's see, things like collard greens, nobody's ever going to put those in a green smoothie unless, you're just like to torture yourself. But they're very, very good if you make them with a pate. You can wrap the collards if you like raw food, or you can mix them, saute them with onions if you like cooked food. But any type of green helps you produce nitric oxide within the endothelium. You need that to heal and keep the endothelium healthy. So remember, eat green, be lean, but also it really helps to detoxify. Do some Epsom salts and put cold packs on. Oh, does the Epsom salts? Yeah, I just think that that you've done, Sherry, a lot of really important things. You've really helped with a lot of different angles. I think the gut angle is the next one. I think that's the obvious thing. The only thing that we haven't been able to address is that gut infection. So I would do more, turn your direction more in the direction of gut assessments and work on the digestive system for 3 or 5 weeks. If you've already done that, then I'm probably out of suggestions for you at the moment. It did bring up more nutrition than right at the top. So we've got berberine, the internal iliac artery, vitamin E deficiency, B vitamins needed, avoid coconut oil. There's the valves. There's definitely something going on with the valves. So, something like hawthorn berry, I don't know, have you done that? Then the infection, my kidney support, so kidney support, taurine, hormonal icosapentaenoic acid, L-carnitine, all of these things, the heart and the digestive system are the focal point. So the focal point is less at the venous level, more at the heart level, more at the kidney level, more at the digestive level in order to break through, I think, and get to the heart. But you do need to address that pain. And so it could be hot and cold treatments that may help. External applications. I'll try to find one for my hydrotherapy book that's specifically for venous, for vein, for that lower leg area. And also upping on the flavonoids. I really do think the green smoothies, if you guys remember, Victoria Butenko was the big advocate of green smoothies. She says she invented green smoothies, and honestly, I would believe her from the time that I've known her. I remember that she was developing this idea from raw foods to the green smoothie idea. So remember in her book, which I think is just called The Green Smoothie Book, you can pick it up, anywhere online and so forth. But the most significant thing that she did is she had people who were not healthy and in some ways were not interested in getting healthy. She had them drink a quart of green smoothies every day. That was the first thing that they had to have. So something like the berries, the parsley with water, the Italian parsley with water, the kale, spinach is a good base as well. Any green that you can get into that smoothie is great. And then the berries. The berries are very important. Using several different types of berries together seems to have an exponential 1 + 1 = 4 type of effect. And what she found is that every person, it didn't matter if they had McDonald's in the afternoon, if they had the green smoothie in the morning, then and they ate it over the course of the month, every single person had improvements in cholesterol and health. Many people lost significant amounts of weight, and they just started with the green smoothie. So those effects cannot be underestimated. It's the effect of the nitric oxide, it's the effect of the greens, it's the liver cleansing effect. Just the as you've seen with the revolution of raw foods, juicing, and so forth over the past probably 30 years, it's because our diet has been so needing those elements in order for people just to stay on the planet. So let's see where we traversed in the time that we ran the frequencies. We went from here. This is sort of Sherry was working on her, and we did have some effect. We did have some different new changes coming in. I do think that the work here has been primarily on the heart, which is where we really put our emphasis. So, heart, kidney, infection, digestion, and then, let us know. She's given us a lot of things. There's obviously, these are the cases that keep me up, late at night because, often people come in and say, I've tried everything, and it's kind of, you feel like, oh my gosh, well, what am I going to do? But biofeedback can really reveal maybe the places that have gone unexplored. So I would go back and I would try those, and that's probably the best that I really have to offer. The musculature of my heart is contracting healthfully. There's the glycosylation. It's the diet. We've got to get that diet spot on, and we've got to get over that digestive infection. You can refer her to me for like a singular consultation where you, myself, and your client can sort of have a meeting of the minds. I can give my naturopathic recommendations, and that'll just be a touchstone to your continued work to sort of take you forward for the next 3 months or so, and then you may want to come back and do another consult with me. So you guys are all invited to do that. Exercise is vital for venous return. I agree. Open the root chakra to the other higher chakras. It's a good one. So we work on the chakras. Yoni steams. So, go to Karen McDonald's Facebook page to look for her yoni steam information. The blood pressure in the blood vessels slows to its slowest at the capillaries. Good, Susan. I just was mentioning that. That may have even been before I mentioned that. I just did 5 colonics. Great. Okay. Yes. Why avoid coconut oil? So this is one of the big questions. You guys, we are over time, but just really briefly before we wrap up here. There's no, you guys, coconut oil has a huge marketing apparatus behind it. And there's never been any evidence that coconut oil provides it's not an essential fat. Saturated fat is not an essential fat to take into your body, you guys. Your body can make plenty of it. And the body, because of how it developed evolutionarily over time, never wanted an excess of saturation of saturated fat. It goes out of its way to avoid it because of the hindrance in the vessels. So coconut oil is a delicacy treat at its best that you may put into an ice cream or something, a vegan ice cream that you have perhaps once a week. It is not a health oil. It is not, I dare you to provide one peer-reviewed study that shows that coconut oil is either essential or beneficial to health. It adds a massive amount of calories to the diet without returning anything. anytime you reduce an oil into your body, you will significantly slow down the circulation of the body. So you will have more stagnation. And it's very likely fat, there's a saying, the fat you eat is the fat you wear. The fat you eat is the fat you wear, despite the fact that the coconut oil industry and the olive oil industry would like to have you believing differently. But the density of calories is tremendous when you compare the same weight of oil to, say, a potato or starch-based food like rice, as an example. You can eat a huge portion of rice and a little dinky tablespoon of oil and have the same caloric impact. In addition, it's very difficult to convert potato or rice to fat. It's a very laborious process, despite what popular memes will tell you today. But fat, when you take it into your body, there's another saying, from your lips to your hips. When you take in oil, it gets converted extremely easily. It was meant that we, every once in a while, in our nomadic ancient, bodies, that we would come upon, some type of an oasis of perhaps olives or something that we could take in this caloric proportion. And it was meant to stay with us until we had some time of starvation when there was absolutely no food available. And it was meant to be that caloric thing that saved our lives. It's just that time of no food being available never comes. So this is the issue today. But I really do dare any person to please send me the study that shows that coconut oil, not an article on the internet that cites 30 reasons why coconut oil is good, which has been copied from 100 other articles, which is usually what I receive. It's become an urban myth that one person has said coconut oil is good for the thyroid. When I tried to do an article on this, you guys, and I tried to find the peer-reviewed study, I was shocked. There's no peer-reviewed study that says coconut oil has ever been good for the thyroid. So if you're working on a heart issue, you don't want to raise your saturated fat, which coconut oil will do, which will tend to cause you to gain weight. So I don't find that there's any benefit. However, if you are a very Vata person, you're very lean, you're like a string bean, and you do well with fats, you seem to thrive on fats, you have no cardiovascular issues, and you want to have a small amount of coconut oil to enjoy that coconut oil, I really have nothing to say except enjoy a small amount of coconut oil. But for my people who are sick, who are trying to get better, they must take it out of their diet. Okay, you guys, I really apologize because I have not been posting the videos. I've been mostly out of the office for about the past 7 to 10 days. Now I'm back in the office. I'll post everything, get the newsletter out, I promise. I will post everything so you can find it online. I want to thank you for hanging in for the extra 8 minutes, and especially on a holiday. Be here next week, and I'll let you know what the topic is, hopefully in the newsletter coming up. I'm sure I will. And much love and much prosperity and abundance and good things in your week, everyone. Thanks for joining me today. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. Have a wonderful day. Take care and be well.